Yes, okay, good. Hey, I was not sure. All right. Hopefully, internet holds out here. All I want to do today is talk about your contentions. Overall, they were pretty good. I haven't actually written comments on them, but I did read through them all. So I'll go through later on today and put comments on them. What I did notice overall is that we were pretty good at keeping our contentions topical and connected to our criteria and values, which is good. For the most part, it looked like our sources were good. Some of our sources need a little bit of work, though. You want to have sources that are super reliable, and that everyone would, like, when they hear the name of the source, they're like, ah, yes, that seems good. So that first contention, the assignment that was due Wednesday, or whatever, was just that bare bones, write basically the first sentence of the contention, and then give me the sources or the articles that you used to write that, or that you're planning on using in that contention. The first full contention will be due by Monday. The first full contention will be due by Monday. So basically what I mean by that is by Monday, if this is, so here we are back looking at that sample case. Okay, if this is their, here's one of their contentions. So by Monday, you will have written one full contention. So you don't have to have the whole speech written, but you should already have this bit written. And then you're just writing this part, one of the contentions for one of your speeches. Basically, here's my goal, people. I could just make you write the entire speech over the weekend, except for the fact that debate is a lot of work. And this is an elective class. And I don't necessarily want you to be spending like a giant chunk of your time working on your elective course when you could be spending it on more of your core classes. So I'm trying to make this not as much work as it could be, essentially. That's the whole idea, which is why I'm breaking it up into really small chunks. And then as we go, we'll write more and more contentions, and we'll spend more class time on some of those speaking skills. So as you write contentions, we'll spend class time on speaking skills. And then after both your affirmative and your negative speeches are written, then you will then we'll go back and we'll actually start doing some of the debate. So someone asked if they went ahead and wrote out their full first contention, is that okay? And the answer is yeah, that's totally fine. You don't have to resubmit. Basically, if you do more than I ask, you're totally fine. It's only if you do less than I ask that it's a problem. So remember, all grades in this class are just completion at this point. It's kind of up to you how much work you put into it, how much skill you want to gain with debate. So if you'd rather just write all of your contentions this weekend, finish your whole affirmative speech, you can totally do that. That's fine. But I am going to make it, slower, so that maybe we're not as stressed for time with this class. But anyway, so you're writing your first contention this weekend, which means, whereas what was due on Wednesday was just, this statement, and then, what your sources were. What's due on Monday is going to be this whole paragraph. So actually written out what you would actually say. So let's talk about what you actually say then for this speech. So first off, I don't know if this is actually going to work since my internet's very slow. No, why did it do this to me? I had the right slide picked and everything, and it was like, no, but my slides are always very long. So in any given contention, this is how your information should be organized. If it loads here. So you start with the claim, which is like your kind of like your main idea. It really helps your audience kind of predict your arguments, helps them follow along, that you label and link it. The first reason to affirm, something like that. It's your major contention. Then you give a warrant. So this is true because, make sure you use really specific language. You're going to answer the how and the why questions. Then you give your data, you prove it. So you said this was true, now prove it. This is where you really want statistics, expert testimony, specific examples, basically your citations, all of your data. If your data is something that's common knowledge, which is information that you can find in 10 or more sources, you don't have to cite it. If it's really specific information, you do need to cite it. This information shouldn't just be stuff you found on like Wikipedia or procon.org or any of that kind of stuff. Anything that is compiling a bunch of resources is not a good source. If it compiles a ton of resources, that's not something you want to cite. What you want to cite is the individual resources that that article cites. If that makes sense. But that's your data. And then again, you want the type of data that you want. Statistics are awesome. If you can find statistics, that's great. Your next best thing is going to be a specific example of something working or not working in the real world. And then finally, if you have theorists who are actually experts, so not just random Joe Smo off the street, but famous philosophers, fine. Those guys are awesome. So like if you're quoting Kant, that's fine. Or if you're quoting, the leading scientist in their field, that's also fine. But if, you're quoting Joe Mama's opinion, that's not fine. Okay. Does that make sense? And then the last thing you end with is the impact. So why is this whole thing important? So claim, warrant, data, and then impact, the concrete, tangible, real world effects of if what you're saying is true. Okay, so let's go back to that example, and we're going to look for their claim, warrant, data, and impact here. Hang on. Okay, so here's their contention. The death penalty consumes costly resources. And then they actually say, subpoint A, from purely financial perspective, death penalty wastes financial resources that could be used more effectively and efficiently elsewhere. That's their claim. So they're immediately giving, here, or you could also say their warrant. So claim, warrant, they're right away saying why this is true. Okay, and then they're giving their data. So as they give their data, notice they cite it. A New Jersey Police Perspectives report concluded that the state's death penalty, and then what the data actually is. So they're giving legit numbers here. And then they're stating why it's important. Granted, this is all part of a quote, but this is why this quote is really good. It says where it came from, it gives the data, it says why it's important. And then it also tells us what that study does. The report concluded from a statistically not a phenomenon just in New Jersey. Here's another one, another resource. Okay, so here we have our data here. Once we have our data, then we give our impact. So when they explain their impact, remember that's real world, concrete consequences. Death penalty is rarely being used to actually kill people. It's wasteful, it decreases the ability to deter crimes. Second, and then here we have another impact. So they have two impacts. And then one of the really important things that they do is they link their whole argument from here. They link their whole argument back to their criteria. They link their whole argument back to their criterion. So we have claim, warrant, data, impact, connection to my framework. Okay, that's what every single point of your case should have. Okay, someone asked for the last assignment for the bare bones contention. How many contentions do we need? Just one. It was only one. Oh. Okay. So this is your homework, to take that bare bones contention that you did and now write it down. Write it like this, in speech format. Okay? Before you actually do get it written out, make sure that you have actually looked at my comments on there. Like I said, I haven't actually written all the comments on it yet, but I will be doing that today. Just did not quite end up having time yesterday. So I'll give you some comments for you to be able to, like, do you need to alter your bare bones there? Are there things you need to change? Again, overall, mostly what I saw was just in the data that was being used, or like if your source wasn't one that was applicable, that was mainly what I saw as an issue. But otherwise, for the most part, it looked pretty good from when I was just skimming through it. Also, I briefly read the way you guys changed your value and criterion. Those looked good as well from our changes we made there. Some people still need to work on the measurability of their criterion, but for the most part, pretty good. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? No. So if people, I thought I changed the due date on that. I was pretty sure that I had. So no, we're following, because we didn't end up having class Wednesday. I just moved everything back one day. So the first contention is due by Monday. So obviously, if you've already done the first contention, yay, you did it. If not, then you need to go back and look at it. And even if you have completed your first contention, you may want to look at my comments just to see what I put out there. So if you need to make changes, you can make those. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, that's really it for today. I just really wanted to focus on that aspect of writing that contention. Monday we'll do a little bit about actually some speaking skills. So we'll start talking about speaking skills, and then by next Wednesday we'll go back and look at contentions, kind of finishing things up, and we'll just be, from here on out, we're just working on writing contentions. So if you get on a roll this weekend and decide, you know what, I'm just gonna, pop out this entire speech, go ahead. I'm just doing it slower than you, and you could turn in the whole speech every time and never change a thing, and you'd be fine. Okay. All right, that's it for today. If you have questions, stick around. Otherwise, you guys can go.